What's going on, everyone? So, when it comes to Sidney Prescott, she has been involved with Ghostface for 30 years at the point of this film, right? And so she has a lot of experience with various Ghostface. Her growing up, now she has a family, right? And that in and of itself, I think, is something that is, I really hope we get some sort of exploration on, right? I hope it's not just like, oh, here's the family, and then that's that. We've talked about. I really want to see kind of how Sydney is as a mother. How is she as a wife? Is she overbearing? Is she overprotective? Is she, a mother that's kind of like, yeah, hey, you know what, go live your life. I've had life experiences, but I'd imagine that there is some form of overbearingness to a degree. But going into this film, one of the big questions is, how prepared is she going to be? Is she somebody that, yeah, she has the gun and all that stuff, but is she somebody that has like, a panic room or various escape routes or whatever? Is her house essentially Fort Knox and, locks down and it's like, a house from the Purge or something, right? Where all the windows end up getting sealed and everything, you're basically locked in and trapped. And, you see in the trailer, Ghostface kind of dropping down from what appears to be the attic. So obviously there is a hole somewhere in the system. But we got the trailer, and obviously I'm sure we'll get more details, more information in the actual movie itself. But at least from the trailer, we see just how prepared Sidney Prescott is, right? She has obviously the weaponry. You see, she has guns, she has cameras all over the place. So I'm sure that's how she knows Ghostface is in the house. She probably gets some type of alert or something. Camera comes on, she probably sees Ghostface kind of wandering, gets her daughter and husband and everybody in the little kind of side of the walls. Not just that, but her husband is a cop. Like, that is something that we saw in the trailer. So Mark Evans is going to be, a police officer. So again, you got to imagine that he has, weapons and stuff like that in the house beyond Sidney. So I thought it was a cool kind of thing. Like, you knew she was going to be prepared, but how prepared, right? Because, I've talked about Ghostface. I mean, the last time Ghostface came for her, right, was like went after her, was Scream 3, right? Scream 4, she went to Ghostface. You can make the argument either way, whether Jill needed Sidney for her plan to be executed or not. But regardless, she went back to Woodsboro to go meet Ghostface. Same thing with Scream 5, right? That was due to Dewey. Scream 4 was because she was on her book tour. Scream 5 was for Dewey, to go and avenge Dewey, right? So the last time Ghostface came to her was 25 years ago, right? So, there were the questions of like, is she somebody that's going to be, insanely prepared? Is she somebody that's going to have, these kind of escape routes and abilities to hide in the walls and stuff like that? Or is it going to be something where, she's just armed and loaded and ready to go? You knew she'd have some protection, some type of thing, because there's always that thought of Ghostface popping up at any point. Obviously with Scream 5, I'd imagine after those events, she probably would ramp up things a little more, right? Like Ghostface came back, because you got to think, in between Scream 3 and Scream 4, you're talking 11 years. In between, Scream 4 and Scream 5, you're talking what, another 11 years? So you're talking, a time, or 10 years, whatever it was, right? You're talking, she had time to kind of prepare and make money and be able to put herself in that position. But also, again, it's just, how crazy are you going to go with it? Right? Like you saw, for example, in Halloween, right? Like Laurie, she was just, psychotic with it almost, right? She was just, the upset, like, just in case she comes. I mean, again, Sydney's always going to be prepared because, she learned, like I mentioned, yeah, there's 11 years in between each recent Ghostface attack, but those are all still possible that, like, okay, would that eventually have trickled down to me? Would they? Yeah, they might have been after Sam and Tara, but is Ghostface, like, what? Ghostface is just going to stop when they're done if they have success, or are they going to come after me? At some point, Ghostface is going to come after me again, right? At some point, my family's going to be in jeopardy, all that stuff. So, again, it's a nice little touch it was something that I literally made a video about and talked and broke down of like how prepared I'm excited to see, and hopefully we get insight of how prepared Sidney is for Ghostface. Obviously, it looks like Tatum's gonna get taken and all that stuff. So, it's obviously she wasn't that prepared. Obviously she didn't have, like, because I was curious, like I talked about in that video, made it months ago at this point, but talked about in that video of like, does she have like a cabin that she can escape to? Does she have like, are they just basically getting out of the house and then, going over to a neighbor's house or something? Or are they do they have like, what is it? What are they called? Like buggy bags or whatever, right? Like those things where she grabbing the bag and then they're disappearing, right? Like maybe she tries. That could be a possibility. What if she tries and Tatum's like, no, I'm not leaving? We get that scene in the trailer where she goes, I want to fight. I want to be a fighter like you, type thing. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe Sidney is like, hey, we're getting out of here. We're going to go, hide away in the woods somewhere like a recluse or something until this blows over, until we can figure out how to do it. Or maybe Sidney's just going to go get, Tatum and her husband safe type thing, and then she's going to go handle this. Hey, you stay with our daughter. I'm going to go handle business with Ghostface. And then once we're done, then you guys can come back type thing. And then Tatum, I could see Tatum kind of being like, no, like, Mom, we're not doing that. Like, we're in this together type thing. I want to be a fighter like you type thing. Basically what we saw in the trailer. That could be kind of an interesting way, an interesting approach to this upcoming Scream movie. Kind of have that torn where Sidney's like, this isn't a game. She's kind of conflicted with the motherliness, right? She's got the motherhood of like, hey, I no, like, this isn't like, this is your life, right? Like they're after me. Like they don't want you. Like you're just the casualty. They're going to use you. And like I said, you see Tatum get captured. You see Tatum get kidnapped, or at least it appears that way. Again, we don't know for certain, but it appears that way. And then you also hear Sidney, say, where's my daughter type thing, stuff like that. So the trailer at least made it appear as if Tatum is going to get captured and caught. And so I imagine, again, that's going to lead Sidney down the trail of hunting down Ghostface. The huntee becomes the hunter type thing. But it was just good to see Sidney was prepared. She had the little escape plan and stuff. It's one of those things. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Right? Better to be prepared than, and have the things you need than be underprepared type thing. But, we'll kind of see how this kind of, like I said, continues to play out. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass question you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. It's me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel. What are you doing? Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.